Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kiani Alvarez. I work with TBP Professional Solutions. We're the one hosting this webinar today. This is actually our Talking Taxes webinar series. We do these webinars every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, covering all different types of topics from taxes to marketing, Schedule A, Schedule C's. We have a whole bunch of different webinars that we do. And this one today is going to be all about preparing for a COVID-19 tax season. I'm sure, as many of you know, this tax season is going to be very, very different for tax professionals all around the nation. And we wanted to host this webinar to make sure that you guys are prepared for what's to come and just show you different ways that you can make sure you're ready to ensure a successful 2021 tax season. So today's webinar is actually hosted by our president, Jason Garner. He is also an enrolled agent and owner of Garner Tax and Accounting. So he has over a decade of experience in the tax industry in all different realms. So he's going to be presenting today this webinar. And if you guys are interested, we are also streaming this webinar live on Facebook. So if you have anyone on Facebook that you think can benefit from this information that we're going to be sharing today, go ahead to Facebook at TBP Pro Solutions to share this on your pages. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you, Kiani. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And thanks for joining today. And as Kiani said, we're going to talk about a COVID-19 tax season. Well, first of all, we'll start with just a very brief intro about who is TBB Pro and where, as far as why we're bringing you this webinar today. We'll talk about COVID and last year because a lot of people are under the impression, well, we had a tax season with COVID. We did. It's not going to be the same as this year. And then the two major categories that we'll talk about today. Number one, moving your office more to a virtual level. And that really involves two things, a web presence and virtual workflow. And then we'll talk about some solutions that we have that can help with some of those virtual workflow things that you're going to run into. We always end our presentation with an invitation to join our community or for you to consider joining TBB Pro and all the benefits that that entails as well. So like I said, a brief intro on who is TBB Pro. Well, we are TBB Pro, and TBP can be a mouthful, but it stands for taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll. So we're an organization that's helping tax offices go beyond just tax returns. And by providing bookkeeping and payroll services there to become what we call a year-round revenue machine. Some of you may be doing that already. And we don't stop there either. We also have mobile apps and other technology that we're developing alongside tax, bookkeeping, and payroll technology to really streamline the tax preparation process and to help you stay ahead of the technological curve for tax seasons like the one that we're going to be experiencing this year. I invite you to check out our website at www.tbbpro or on Facebook, where we have a great presence there and we have videos like this one streaming live. And you just search for TBB Pro Solutions. So thanks again for joining us. A little bit more about TBP. 50 years of combined experience. We are a team dedicated to the best customer support in the industry, with systems based on a very profitable tax office doing over 10,000 returns and providing one of the industry's only turnkey approaches to offering accounting services, all while delivering best prices. And we are a company headquartered in One World Trade Center. So while we are a company big enough to handle the needs of any tax office, we're still small enough to take our relationships personally and to care about the success of your business. So let's talk about COVID and last tax season. Because one of the first things you hear is, will it be much different than last year? This is when all that started. It was January, February, the news started breaking. And we, quite frankly, think it will be very different. One of the things that we found, and you probably share the experience, was the busiest months of tax season, which are by far January and February for most offices, were not severely affected by COVID last year. Matter of fact, one of the hotbeds or hotspots when it comes to talking about COVID, and also where we're headquartered, New York City, The first case wasn't even confirmed until March 1st. So that's literally all of January, all of February that we had until, hey, COVID's here in New York City. Matter of fact, you go 13 days later to where it was confirmed in the last state of Alabama. And that's just one confirmed case that we're talking about for each one of those. It wasn't until March 15th, where a lot of you are 60 to 80% done with your taxes, that the CDC announced the danger of any 50 plus person gatherings. The first stay at home order came from California. They're a leader when it comes to stay at home orders, what we've seen on the news. Wasn't announced until March 18th. And when they did that, even being the first, tax offices were deemed essential businesses. So they stayed open. And like I said, most offices had done anywhere from 60 to 80% of their volume at that time. We saw the stimulus bill pass the Senate and House on March 25th. Now, at that point, I believe we had tax season already extended due to the COVID results and everything that was happening. But by March 25th, a lot of us are on the home stretch. End of March is when most schools started closing early for the summer and did not reopen. Some of them still haven't. And April is when things really started hitting as far as lockdowns and shelter in place and social distancing, is when that really started happening. And if you think about a typical tax season, which last year was not a typical tax season, but it started as a typical tax season, a lot of us are mostly done by April. Because in April, we start getting, especially on April 15th, that's the way they love to do us, right? That's when we start getting the information from the people that owe. They're not in a hurry to file. But most of our other clients, we'd already seen and processed at that time. And April, again, is when things really started happening as far as the social distancing, the shutdown, and everything like that. So the first tax season, if you think about it, it could have been a lot worse. We got through our busiest months of January, February without any severe effects from COVID. Now, that's not going to be the case for this upcoming season. And I know it's different across the country. Currently, I'm in Georgia. We still have social distancing. We still have some mask requirements in different offices and buildings and things like that. But for the most part, things are up and running. But that's Georgia. And you have states like California and New York. They're looking at lockdowns again very soon. And it's not just California and New York. And I certainly don't want this to get into any kind of politics or anything like that. But I'm just saying that there will be a much bigger effect on the tax industry for 2020, tax season 2020 or current year 2021, because we're going to go into our busiest months, January, February, facing this thing. So it will be the first full COVID tax season. It'll be the first season where we've seen this from day one. As we just talked about, a lot of the orders and directives and shelter in place and shutdowns didn't occur until March and April. We're looking at some of that right now. Now, we're looking at one side of things, right? We're looking at state mandates, and that's going to affect some states more than others. But then there's also the other side of this. Here in Georgia, where we don't have a lot of the lockdowns and everything going like that, we still have a lot of people that don't want to get out. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want to go to a busy tax office. So this is important to basically everyone to be ready for this first full 2020 season, because whether or not someone's forcing you to do something, it's probably going to affect you. Now, one of the good news, one of the silver linings, is most states deem tax preparation accounting offices as essential businesses. So you can stay open. But like I said, there's the flip side of this. How many clients are going to want to come in your office, especially during the busy weeks? Or how many are going to want to sit in a waiting room? Because if they do, your office needs to be abreast and stay current with proper and mandated rules and regulations and guidelines, like the 6 foot distancing, the requirement of a mask in your office, perhaps the clear shields between your preparers. Your waiting room can't be too close together. So there's going to be a lot of things that we face when it comes to that. And I encourage each one of you to look at the CDC or particularly your state and see what you have to do and then what you need to do to make sure that your clients are feeling comfortable if they want to come in to your office. And what we're mostly going to talk about today are how virtual options are going to be in high demand for next year. Because what we've seen the past couple of years, even before COVID, is we're seeing gradual steps to more virtual offices anyway, right? We're seeing mobile apps come out. We're seeing client organizers. We're seeing remote signatures. We're seeing baby steps, if you don't mind me calling that. This year, it's going to be like that meme where the guy is trying to step up 6 flights of steps at the same time. We're going to go into high demand. That's the purpose of this webinar, just to kind of talk about that, what that demand could look like. Like, for example, one of the things you might want to consider right off the bat is a drop off for your clients. Have envelopes ready at the front where you can seal, make sure that their sensitive information is taken care of, and allow them to drop that off and to come back by later, whether it be an hour or 2 weeks. Just being able to drop off and say, get this done, it's going to be a huge plus for you to provide that to your clients. Instead of no, just take a number, or no, wait on the next person. Here, I've got something to keep your information safe and secure. You can seal that up right here in front of me. I'll get that to the tax professional. We'll get back to you as soon as everything is done. That's a huge step. That seems like a baby step, but that's a huge step that a lot of your clients are going to really appreciate that, especially if you have elderly or people with pre-existing conditions. Just doing something like that. Something else you might want to consider: self or postage paid envelopes to your clients. And see, these aren't necessarily virtual options, but these are things you could consider to really help with the clients that either can't come in, shouldn't come in, or just don't want to come in. So you send them an envelope with a nice little letter from you. Hey, if you'd like to place your stuff in the mail, I've already put a stamp on here. Just send it back. I'll get your taxes done. But specifically, let's talk about virtual options because they're going to be in high demand, especially with your younger crowd. And every year, virtual options are going to be in higher demand, and we're going to see that big jump for this year. So let's talk about creating a virtual office, or at least taking your office more to a virtual level, is what we want to talk about. And we could spend all day talking about things like putting up shields, separating the chairs in your waiting room, putting the stickers on the ground that say stand right here. There's all kinds of things that you can do in your office to really help. We talked about the mailings and the drop-offs. There's all kinds of things that you can do with that. But we want to shift our focus into creating a virtual office and basically utilizing technology to stay ahead of the curve. So there's two major components to creating a virtual office. There's virtual presence, and there's virtual process. And let's start with virtual presence because that's an easy one to talk about. Quite frankly, ask yourself this question: how big is my company's footprint on the internet or the World Wide Web? How easy is it for people to find me? And most of you have a Facebook page already. Great. Most of you are on Google Business. Great. But there's so many different things that you can use right now to do that. Obviously, a good website is a great starting point. A good domain name tied to a website, instructions about your services, what you provide, your hours, how to get in touch with you is a great starting point. A Facebook page is a completely free way to jump on Facebook and create a page for your business. LinkedIn, Twitter. Now, there's other social networking sites such as Pinterest and Instagram that are not just for teenagers anymore. Businesses have taken these on full force and they're getting their virtual footprint even bigger on the web. One of the things that I encourage every tax office to do for this upcoming season is to take advantage of every single one of these that you can. Have a page on LinkedIn. Obviously, have a Facebook page. Have a website page. Go to Google. Make sure your business is listed. Google has a very nice feature to where you can take pictures of the inside of your office and do like a virtual tour inside your office. Now, this may be, you may be thinking, well, how does that make me money? It's just these little things to make that footprint bigger. In marketing, I think I've heard Richard say it before. We need to be able to touch somebody about 7 times before they strongly consider us. So let's touch them on Facebook, Twitter, Yelp, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, all of these, especially the ones where you're not coming out of any capital up front to do those. These are things that we really want to get out in front of. We want to have as many footprints, or the biggest footprint on the web that we could possibly have. The other aspect of creating a virtual office is virtual workflow. So we talked about some of the things that we could do in office, right? We talked about how we could have the drop offs, have the mail ins, have the distancing, have the shields, have the free mask in our office, the hand sanitizer. We talked about the things we can do there. And I encourage you to certainly look into each one of those and do what you can in your office to make people feel comfortable. Some people are going to stroll right in. Some people have already had COVID. They're going to stroll right in and just not care, right? But let's make everyone as comfortable as possible. Now, on the other side of that, let's make sure, because there's two groups of people that are interested in a virtual office, one for the convenience and one for the safety. Let's make sure both of those know that we've got virtual options to take care of them. And what I mean by that is preparing their taxes without ever seeing them face to face. Now, you guys are seeing me face to face right now, but it's virtually. I could have the COVID and cough all over my screen and it wouldn't matter. So, how am I going to do this virtually without physically being in front of somebody? And that's what we want to talk about, the process of gathering information, interacting with your clients, completing returns, and then dispersing prepared tax documents and funds to go along that. So that process that we're very comfortable with, that very familiar with, someone comes in, I get the info, I prepare the return, I put it in front of them, I get it signed, I get paid. That process, I'm very good at it. I've been doing it in my office for 5, 10, 20 years, maybe longer, right? How do I start moving that online? And let's talk about this for a little bit, and let's talk about what you need to do and then some options to help you move that to a more virtual presence. Excuse me. One of the first steps is communication. Now, this is necessarily before you actually start the tax return process. So when it comes to communication, we need to look at doing it virtually. And this is really where that web presence really comes into play, because we want that web presence because that is virtual communication between our office and our potential clients, right? So we want to be able to be on Facebook, to be on Twitter, to be on LinkedIn, to be on Instagram, to be all those, because that's touches for my client. Now, on the other side of that is we need to communicate directly with people, right? Not just an ad. We need to call Joe Smith and say, Joe Smith, you did your taxes with me last year. I want to do them again this year. Obviously, we got phone calls, and a lot of you doing that already. Let me call you. Let me produce a list from my software, and let me call you and let me tell you what I'm doing about my office, how I'm social distancing, how I'm making it as safe as possible. But let me get in touch with you. Obviously, phone call is one of them. I highly encourage that. There's also email. Most tax softwares, it's very easy to run an email list of your clients and send an email. Let them know what your hours are going to be, how you're making your office safer. There are now texting applications, and these work very well. These texting applications are so much better than texting each person on your phone. These texting applications allow you to type out a message and send it to a certain amount of people at a certain time, get your replies, and automate that process. Think about texting each one of your clients, how long that's going to take, how, your thumbs are going to get sore, right? Using a texting application allows you to get in touch with numerous people in just a few minutes. Let them know what's going on. Let them know of your virtual options because the first thing we want to do is we want to communicate. We need to let people know of our virtual options. We could have the best virtual tax office in the entire country. Nobody knows about it. They're not going to use it. So that's why we're starting with communication. Step one, getting out in front, phone call, email, text, web presence, making sure people know what I have to offer. Getting in touch with my clients, with my prospective clients, telling them about my referral programs. These are all things you can do with email, text, website, and phone calls. So let's keep that in mind. I want to be able to reach my clients. I want to use that marketing term of touching my clients, but this is not necessarily just an ad. This is direct, and this really goes a long way. So, step one, communicate virtually. Whatever you see is best for your office. These are just a few examples. Now, we've got our clients, and we got to start talking about the actual return process. Because as tax professionals, we have certain things that we need in order to do a tax return, obviously. And I broke it down into document collection and data collection. Now, those may sound like pretty much the same thing, and I guess technically they are, but I wanted to make a big distinction between the two. Because when it comes to data collection, yes, I got to have data on my clients. I got to know their names, I got to know their addresses, their dependents, their socials. I got to have data, right? And I got to have a way to get that data to me. But also, if tax professionals, if you ever read Pub 17, you have document requirements as well. You're to actually keep an exact photocopy of their filed IRS and Social Security documents. So, like that W 2 you used to do their return, you need more than the numbers on it. You need a picture of it or a copy of it on paper, right? A lot of states require the driver's license now. If you're doing a bank product return, absolutely have to have the driver's license. Any 1099s, forms like that, we don't just need data, we need documents. So let's talk about document collection because there's some simple ways you can do this, right? You can have your clients text you a picture. That counts because you can get that picture and save it on your phone or transfer it to your computer, whether it be through the court or email. You've got a picture of that W 2. And that's just snapping a picture and sending a text. That's an easy way. Now, a big one that you've seen the last few years are mobile apps. Mobile apps are becoming more and more popular for tax offices because mobile apps, one of the best things they do is allow that document collection. And they allow it easily because when it comes to a mobile app and document collection, when they're holding a document, whatever it may be, they can snap a picture of it with their phone. And that counts, right? If they're using a computer and trying to get it to you that way, that's got to be scanned or the picture's got to be taken and then moved to the computer, right? That's a little bit more tedious of a process. Remember, we want to streamline this as much as possible. So mobile apps are actually listed on this twice. Mobile apps are fantastic for document and data collection, as long as your clients are fine with a smartphone, which that's going to be 95% of them now, are going to be fine with mobile apps. Strongly encourage you to consider a mobile app for this upcoming tax season. Now, there's also, like we talked about, scan and email, and there are very nice client portals out there right now. I've included an example of one here to where an individual can go in and create their or enter their data, such as their name, email, phone number, right? But then also their documents by uploading forms. Now, this client portal is actually accessed via the web, and some people prefer to do everything on their computer as well. So there's client portals and there's mobile apps are two fantastic virtual ways to get that information. But remember, you've got two requirements. You've got data and document collection. Don't want to have an IRS auditor come into the office and you not have copies of W-2s, 1099s, and other documents that you need. So we talked about scanning and email. Mailing envelopes is really more on the other side of things. It's still considered, remote and mailing envelopes, but that is a good way to get document collection, whether it be through the mail or drop off. And then when it comes to data collection, we talked about mobile apps as really kind of a benefit for both. Client portals where people can log in and upload documents are very nice to have, and also organizers. Now, organizers, most of you probably use those already, but it's a sheet that you send to your clients and they fill out any changes from the last year. They can give you copies of W-2s, they can write in information, and you use that to prepare the return. Now, most organizers until the past few years were all paper. So they'd mail them or email them, the client would fill it out and mail it or email it back. Now, organizers like the one you see on the screen behind me are going electronic, and they're a huge time saver and a huge convenience boost to your clients. So these are just a few options to throw out there. But I definitely encourage each and every one of you to look into gaining these documents and this data some virtual way for your clients that either can't come to your office or don't want to come to your office. Obviously, there's the return preparation. Now, you need a tax software, just like TBP provides, to do the tax preparation. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is with a virtual office, you might be moving around yourself. You might be working from home more. You might have less time in the office. There's all kinds of different things to consider. Strongly consider looking at an online solution. That allows you to access your information from anywhere you have an internet connection, and your return information is stored safely and securely. Now, there's online softwares, there's also home offices. There will be some tax offices this year that go from having a storefront to completely home based. Be plenty of them that do that. And if that is the case, a home office is certainly the way to go. Online tax software, or there's also hosted softwares. There are softwares that offer the reliability and functionality of desktop softwares that are accessed through somewhat of a remote desktop connection or something like that, so that you can access them from multiple locations. So if you're at home versus the office, and then there's other softwares out there that even though they're locally installed, they have very nice features as far as sharing information amongst themselves. So when it comes to return preparation, just want you to know there's a lot of options out there. I do encourage you to check out and look at an online software, even if it's a backup for this year. Because a lot of people, if they ever consider a software, they try it alongside with their current one for 1 year. Or to look into some hosted or multi-office solutions to make sure that you're ready to be mobile, to move around, and to have more flexibility. Whatever way that you go, though, just make sure that it's something that you're comfortable with and supports things such as mobile apps, remote signatures, and things like that. Now, here's something that I really wanted to point out was interaction. Because for a lot of returns, we have a requirement or a due diligence of interaction. And what I mean by that is a specific example are earned income credit tax returns. When you're completing an EIC return, you're answering questions on that Schedule EIC and that 8867 that says, did you ask the taxpayer about previously denied credits? Did you ask if anyone else could claim the dependent? If that person's not in front of you, as in the case with a virtual office, that may not necessarily be interaction. And in the case of an IRS audit, you have to prove that interaction. And you guys probably have read about those due diligence penalties. They add up quickly. I believe they're up to $550 or $600 each right now. This is something we do not want to take lightly. And if we're moving to a virtual office, this is something that needs to be a concern, but not a concern to the point where it doesn't allow you to move forward, just a concern to address. So let's talk about interaction for a little bit. One of the simplest ways you could do that is via phone. Hey, I've got your return done. I just wanted to call you, let you know what your refund is going to be, but I need to ask you some questions first. And if you're doing it that way, please note in file. Matter of fact, that's a checkbox on your 8867. Did not rely on documents, but made notes in file. Please note in file, preferably in your software if it allows for notes, that you had a phone interview with your taxpayer. Another one is web meeting like Zoom, like we're doing right now. You can see me. A lot of your clients that can't, shouldn't, or don't want to go to a tax office would absolutely love still being able to see you via a meeting, like you're seeing me right now. You see most of my screen, but you should see me in a little window off to the side, which shows me. And this is a great way to go through a tax return, right? Again, if you do that, make notes in file that you ask the questions that on this time and this date, I had a Zoom meeting with this client. Also, free advice. Zoom, you can get a free account that allows you to host meetings somewhere along the lines of like 30 or 35 minutes. Now, it'll shut you off if you go over that. But most of the time, you can talk about a tax return and have that face to face contact within 30 minutes. That's something to keep in mind. Obviously, there's email. Let me email you some questions for you to answer this. And there's also a slew of web based questionnaires out there that ask specific questions about EIC and about child tax credit to make sure that you're covered when it comes to that. Now, another aspect of virtual tax preparation, or actually tax preparation, is getting signatures, right? Virtual tax preparation, we still need signatures. We have a requirement as an ERO, electronic return originator, to present an 8879 to a client and get that signed upon filing. So we have to get those signatures. We're supposed to be getting those signatures before we even e-file anything. Most tax preparation softwares right now offer a remote signature option. If yours doesn't, please consider looking into one that has. At TVP, we have numerous ones that do. You can choose one that fits your office the best. There are straight e-signature applications, such as DocuSign and PandaDoc, that you could use to gather your signatures on tax returns. You literally could mail a form to someone and wait on them to sign it and mail it back to you. Or you could email, in which case, if the client can't sign on screen, you're going to have to print it out, sign it, get it back on the computer, and email it back to you. It is an option. It is a free option. But also, I encourage you, when it comes to signature, strongly consider using a tax preparation software that has one built in, or an electronic return application such as DocuSign or PandaDoc, just to streamline that process as much as possible, because we do need to collect those signatures. And also, for those of you doing the bank product returns, absolute must to get bank forms in front of your customer and get them signed. And if you're taking those compliance tests that the banks make you take every year, you're stating on there that you're going to get everything signed, that you're going to go through options, you're putting your name on that, that you're going to do that. So again, signatures of utmost importance. Make sure that you have a way to collect those that is easy for your client. And remember, tax preparation for a lot of people is a convenience service, a convenience-based industry. A lot of people out there know they could probably file their own return, whether they go online or they do it themselves or however. They know they probably could, they just don't want to, right? I could change my own oil in my truck. I'm not going to. I'm going to drop it off with someone, pay them $25, $30 and get it done. I could have saved $25, $30, but I don't care. I want the convenience. And a lot of our industry right now is convenience, especially on the bank product return. So making the process streamlined and as easy as possible is something where you may spend more money now and make even more money later. So keep that in mind too. You've got to get paid. So you've got to make sure that you get paid for your tax preparation services in a virtual office. They're not in front of you to hand you a $100 bill or $200, right? Bank products, which TBP offers, is a convenient, super easy way to get paid through your client's refund without any cost to you on that. So they've got a $2,000 refund. Your prep fees are $300. Deduct the $300, give them the rest. Bank products are a very nice way to make sure that you're getting paid in a virtual office. And the good thing about bank products is the bank controls that. As long as that return funds, you're getting paid. Then you got credit card processing. You've got plenty of options out there to where you can sign up and just type in someone's credit card on your computer and run the card. There's obviously mailing checks, there's payment drop offs, but bank products, credit card processing, and also, if you look to the right, mobile apps such as the ones that TBP offers allow you to take credit card payments straight through your app. So there are options out there to where the same app someone is using to send you data and documentation can also get you paid, whether it be a bank product or if somebody wants to avoid the extra fees of a bank product and pay you directly themselves with a credit card. So keep that in mind as well when it comes to payments. Now, as we start to wrap this up, you also have a requirement and a responsibility of document disbursement. You've got to present a copy of that tax return, of that 8879, of different documents, of bank apps, if it's a bank product, to that client. You absolutely have to. This is Pub 17 stuff, right? So you've got to get that in front of them. They're also going to want it. It's what they're paying for. So we've got to get copies of tax returns. We've got to get receipts. We've got to get invoices. We got to get stuff to them. We're talking about a virtual tax office. Yeah, you could email it to them. You could save it, attach it, email it. A lot of tax softwares, like the ones we use at TBP, have a very nice streamlined process of emailing tax returns. Again, mobile apps like the one that TBP offers allows you to upload tax returns so that the same place where they send you data, documents, make a payment, they can also get their tax return. Then there's client portals where you can upload information to the portal, they can log in and get it, and you literally can print it off and drop it in the mail. I encourage the virtual options, the internet-based options more because we're in a convenience industry, but you have plenty of options when it comes to getting documents to your clients to ensure that you're meeting your taxpayer responsibilities. So that's kind of our process from beginning to end. And that's just starting with communication, information collection, whether it be data or documentation, return prep, keep in mind interaction. And that's why this one is kind of highlighted here. Interaction and payments are very important. I want you to make sure if you're doing remote taxes that if you have a requirement of interaction, especially for EIC, child tax credit returns, which are a lot of returns now, that you're getting that interaction with your clients and you're having that documented ever in case of an audit. Obviously, payments, and then signatures and disbursements. Now, we talked about a lot of different ways. This was not just a TBP webinar on what we have to offer. We talked about Zoom and PandaDoc and DocuSign. There are multiple ways for you to go from step one to step six. And that's the bulk of this presentation today, was to make sure just to throw out some ideas to get me, talk about what you need to do to start that virtual office to get that ball rolling. Now, we are proud to present some of our solutions and how they could help you with what you're looking for to take your office virtual. Like our mobile app, we talked about this already, but our mobile app is completely customizable to your business. And with our mobile app, we get most of those steps knocked out immediately. Like, for example, they can send you documents and they can type in data. With our mobile app, just like I'm doing right now, waving to you, you can do a live video conference call through the app. They can input credit card information and get you paid through our mobile app. Our mobile app is designed to accommodate the modern virtual tax office. And it takes out a lot of the guesswork of, do I need to get Zoom? Do I need to get PandaDoc? Do I need to do all this other stuff? And puts it all in one convenient, remember, convenience is important, convenient location for you and your clients. This is one of our clients, what it looks like. What separates us from the competition is you download ours directly from the App Store. That's the name of his company. And that's a screenshot of the App Store. A lot of the other apps are generic. You download a generic term like taxes, on the fly, or something like that. And then your client has to somehow tie that into your office. That's not necessarily a convenience step. We integrate ours through our SmartNet application, which also allows you to send invoices and get paid online. Another way of doing that. But because ours is integrated with our SmartNet application, because I know that it's December already, if you're not looking to change tax softwares, you don't have to. You can use our app to collect data, documents, get paid, interact with your clients all in one location without changing softwares if you wanted to. We're also introducing a new client intake form. This is actually developed here with TBP, allows your clients to basically do the same thing that our mobile app does, but do it on a computer screen as well. So a custom link to your office, you send this to your clients via text, email, however you see fit. They go in, they fill out the data, they give you the documents, you're ready to do the return. You're providing the convenience of either an app or a web-based client intake. If you were interested in taking a look at tax preparation software through TBP, every one of our options, because we have both online and multi-office desktop solutions for you to choose from. Every one of ours includes remote signature applications, allowing you to get returns signed directly into the tax software. Get your 1040 page two. Well, I guess it's all page one now, right? Get your 1040 signed, get your 8879 signed, and a nice streamlined system, whether it be via email or phone. Get those signatures. That's part of your requirements. If you're going to go virtual, remote signatures are key. Now, in addition to that, low upfront pricing, personalized setup, one-on-one product training, technical and tax support, even business return support on top of everything else that we have to offer. We'd love to be able to talk to you about any of this if you see fit. And to close it up today, we don't just stop there. Our name is TBP because it does stand for taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll. We also offer a proprietary system for you to offer bookkeeping and payroll services in days because we do most of the work for you. So you're able to add multiple clients, generate year-round revenue without adding a lot to your workload. And your workload during January to April or quarter one can get quite intense, and we realize that. That's our presentation for today. I'd like to thank you for joining. Thanks for letting me share a little bit at the end about how TBP can help you take your office virtually. I appreciate each and every one of you joining today and talking about steps and advice that it would take to transform your office to either having a virtual option or completely virtual, however you see fit. I'd like to pause, see if we have any questions, comments, or anything. We'd be happy to help. Keep in mind, you can use the chat in the software or the Q&A. Kathy Long has a question. What tax software are you selling? We have multiple ones to choose from. By the way, Margaret, very informative. Thank you. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for that advice. And Miss Kathy Long, multiple options, whether they be desktop or online. I will gladly reach out to you afterwards, talk to you about TBP Desktop, TBP Web Pro, and what's the difference between each one of them and what they have to offer. Got another thank you from Anthony. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Jason. I also just wanted to let everyone know that today's webinar was recorded and it's going to be on our YouTube page later today. So if you found anything or you want to go back to anything in the presentation that you want to look into, just go ahead and check out our YouTube and type in TBP Pro and you'll be able to check out our page. We have this recording as well as a ton of other webinars that we've held in the past.
All right. Without any other further questions, we'll go ahead and wrap things up again. Thank you for attending today. Hope you got some good information about looking to go virtual. And if anything TBP can help with, definitely let us know. We'll be happy to help. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.